Hello, what is up, gamers? It is Tuesday, which is 2 days after Sunday, which means I have been a busy bee, but now I finally have had time to read the latest chapter of One Piece. I also got a new microphone. This also caused a delay. My mic broke in some physical way, probably because it fell off my desk one too many times, and the volume knob started getting like weirdly finicky where no longer was it a smooth control knob from lowest volume to highest volume, but instead was like a really finicky, glitchy state of mostly works, and then everything else does absolutely nothing. So that was unfortunate. I like that mic, but now I got this fancy new mic. I splurged a little bit and got something that is very widely recommended, the Yeti Blue. Not in blue at this time, but I'm still fiddling around with the settings and stuff, so I'll have to see what the volume is like on this, what other noises it picks up, what I can do about that. But yeah, let's test it out by reading this new chapter and yapping about it endlessly, as we are wont to do. This title is Can't Even Die 1154. I assume that refers to Loki. Maybe this is some heinous comment that his mother makes when it turns out that he has survived being thrown into the underworld. He's crawling back up the tree at the end of the last chapter, his strange demonic eyes in full focus, perhaps explaining why he bandages up his face. Again, leading to the moment of reconciliation and catharsis when he is exonerated among his peers and reigns triumphant, and the bandages fall down and he gives a happy smile instead of the odd kind of manic smile that he's given up until now. Meanwhile, they're still out in Ringo. This is the shrine that Zoro was taken to by the transforming guy that was actually Kitsune Fox. Go pay your respects at the grave of the hero, born in the West Blue and raised in Ringo. Hey, is that... Look, there's this whole, secret plot line about Zoro's lineage and the ancestry of his sensei and the samurai who left Wano and went to his town. Is this also something to do with that? Because honestly, I don't remember the details of that in much depth. That was all stuff that kind of came out through SBSs and through very scattershot, not super explained background information. So I'll plead ignorance on that one. There may be some secret message here that I'm not getting. Anyways, a nice little winter scene. I love the trees, of course. Hallmark of Wano, hallmark of traditional Japanese art. Okay. 63 years ago, partner of Chief Jarl, oldest of the giants today, Beardfall Jarl, was killed by a young girl. Yes. Big Mom's tale. We saw this in the Big Mom flashback during Whole Cake, of course. As it happened in the same year, Elbaf was afflicted by disaster, fires, gales, and cold snaps that affected their crops and poor fishing hauls as a result of the extreme winter that brought this normally fertile land to the brink of starvation. A horribly auspicious year. A negatively auspicious year. I like this shot of them freezing to death on their boats. It's so visceral. Kind of reminds me of another series running in Jump now, Otter of the Flame, which I'm quite enjoying. I think it's got potential, but it's all about Vikings battling the cold. See, it's because of the child the kingdom is now under the curse because you didn't kill it like I told you to. Prince Loki, still a baby, effortlessly smashing through doors. Already huge, too. Yeah, you can see these two growing giants are the size of the baby Loki. Put out the B-size or this country is ruined. It's all under a curse. Oh, God. What if it's not that he's wearing bandages voluntarily, it's that he has no eyes? I don't know, man. This seems like it's gonna get really grim, and I think it's gonna be kind of a compounding thing where already the situation fighting against the Holy Knights in Emu was very, very grim. The library is on fire. The children are being marched to their deaths. Half the giant pirates are demonified and fighting the other half. And now we're going to get this tragic tale of woe and misfortune and tragedy and some horrible secret that stirs underneath the country. And from all of that combined, the unsettled problems of the past, the new problems of the now, we will have our moment of triumph as Luffy and Loki emerge from the underworld and start to take back Elbaf. Easy to take from the human. Okay, so this is, yeah, they've decided they're going to be peacefaring. They've already come to disagree on whether or not this is part of Elbaf's tradition or not. Huntsman village is attacking us. Ooh. But have little cohesion and cooperation. Civil wars were not in common. Fighting only grew worse and many died. The country was plunged into chaos and over time. Ooh, and then rumors start to spread that it's the cursed prince. People grew sick within their hearts. Oh, trying to sacrifice Hadrudin. This horrifying giant pirate looking zombified almost. He had no right to seduce that herald like that outsider. Oh boy. King Harold returns, trying to unite the country. I like that he totally pancakes this dude. That's freaking sweet. Gets stomped like a Goomba. The same breath that I heard learned about the birth of Loki, I learned my kingdom was suffering from starvation. Whoa. Beautiful. Yay. Good. The world we've lived in is so much smaller than the real thing. How ironic, right? The land of the giants, the mightiest entities on the sea, they realize that there is oceans full of generosity, of little people with big hearts that they had no idea about. Very lovely, very good. Okay, a good moment. A good moment. Probably preceding another bad moment. Estrid passed away. Dying breath, she spitefully blamed the kingdom's ills on the curse of Loki, her own son. Naturally, people believe that the curse was responsible for her death. He's got a lot of bruises. Yeah, the freaking queen was like trying to kill him. The man's ties paid off. Elbaf survived its long winter. Okay. This is when the establishment of highways between the different giant villages on the tree branches was first established. Internal trade, internal cooperation, just as important as external. If not more so. Harold was tremendously busy. Loki was cared for by Estrid's older brother. Sounds like a dick. Okay. This bar is still going, right? This is kind of a little explanation for why there's a bar that's kind of safely in the underworld, right? Because at the start of our present day Elbaf arc, when they're approaching, Colin runs out and asks if they're going to stop in for a drink. And they're like, nah, see ya. It's such a cute little scene, the way Colin waves to them, and when they make the big X, and they're going, we're going up today, and they start riding the rainbow. I was filled with such joy, but there's actually so many little scenes, little things in that scene that feel discongruous. Like, you learn all the kids go to school, and then you're like, what about that kid we saw? Why isn't he at school? And then you learn that pretty much everything happens up at the sun layer. So it's like, why was there a bar in the underworld layer? And I think it would be totally fine if it was just like no reason. But it was all planned. It was all planned. It wasn't just to get that lovely little scene. It would have been enough if it was just to get that lovely little scene. But no, it was all planned. Oda's plan for the entire setting, I think, contained these things when he was first writing those early chapters of Elbaf, long before that even. Nice. So this is kind of your welcoming entry point to Elbaf, which is good, because otherwise any idiot would sail up and then get completely annihilated by giant beasts in the underworld if they didn't have a place to settle into first. You're there for the incident at the Reverie. As a fellow royal to help me slip inside as a soldier, the council would not hear me out. For uproar about that murder, I might have been imprisoned. Oh. This is wild. Okay, there's a lot of lore here. I knew. As soon as we got a flashback that's this far back, there's going to be some crazy-ass lore. There's going to be some questions incidentally answered. There's going to be some epic moments and characters that we're just going to incidentally encounter. Now, these guys almost certainly have to be somehow related to the Gali Law, right? The shipbuilders of Water 7. There's no way that's a coincidence. Now, this seems to be perhaps another prank. The world government seems to love to trick giants into following their commands by claiming that they've kidnapped and are holding ransom various prominent giants. That's how they got the two giant guardsmen at Iona's lobby to stay put, is because they said they had kidnapped Droggy and Brogy, when of course they had not. So I don't know, like, as Jor-El says here, it seems unlikely that 100-strong company of giants and ancient giants could possibly be taken prisoner by, I mean, it's the world government, but, like, still. And I don't really get what this incident at the Reverie is that happened 56 years ago. This all of the kind of, like, major foundational things are way earlier than this. You know, setting up the world government itself, and setting up the idea of the celestial dragons, and deciding who has this divine birthright, these original kings, and then the Nefeltari family splitting from that and refusing to take part, and that ancient rift that carries forward to today. That happened like 700 years ago. So it's not anything to do with that. It's some other incident that I don't think we know about. The world government did that. It's clear we had a great enemy at some point in the distance past. Man, Jor-El is making a lot of sense. He's like... he's still in his real smart age. All of that history was sunk under the sea one day. My point is, your failure to win them over may not be your fault. Okay. Crazy. First off, the world got flooded. They covered it up. That's why we're gonna drain the oceans. Drain the swamp. That's why that's gonna be the end. Drain the oceans. I believe it. So yeah, it's like Harold is definitely trying to initiate friendly contact with the world government, which I think is controversial for a number of reasons. It doesn't seem like Harold is a piece of shit, though. I thought there was going to be something about him giving the blind eye to Mother Caramel's giant children exporting deal. Nothing like that has happened. It feels less and less likely that that's going to be the thing. It could be that Harold was just demonified by Emu, but I don't know. Anyways, this is also very excited lore. An army of giants put on ice and hidden somewhere. Long been a threat to the rest of the world. Could have something to do with Don Chinpo, the drill, who found a vast treasure frozen in a continent of ice could have something to do with that. I don't know. The gallery window in Toriko, a similar idea to get the century soup. Just don't worry about that. That's a different series. So yes, the deaths around Loki continue. And the years go by. 8 branch routes in Elbath, unifying the country and creating vibrant trade between villages. Giant kind to be able to live across the world. Yeah. Hadrian, of course. A bastard child. Which is kind of weird because they all seem to be very sus of Loki still, but they're also like, they also don't like Hadrian. It's like, you don't have anything? King's got another strips, you know what that means. Loki going on rampages. The Elbath, the land of the mighty, the weak don't deserve to live. Okay. So now Loki's the piece of shit. He needs to have his redemption arc. Don't mess with the village Dad worked so hard to rebuild. Don't think you're special just because you're big. I'm special because I'm the prince. Bashes him. Of course, this is the new giant pirates that essentially they eventually assemble under the command of Hadrian. Gerd and company. Son of a mother with tainted blood. No matter how much he harmed and destroyed, Loki could never fill the hole at the center of his being. And then here, he does something very similar to Kaido. Kaido, of course, when he was first introduced, jumped from a sky island, plummeted into the earth, and then was like, that also didn't kill me. and here, similarly, Loki plummeting from the sun layer to the underworld, hoping to die. I can't even die, the title line. His eyes exposed in this instance. Maybe if he took your helmet off. Just the thought. But yeah, I remember for a while there was a theory that there was actually going to be 3 siblings. Hadrian, Loki, and Kaido. And this would actually be the origin of Kaido. And I was never like super on board with that because it doesn't make that much sense. And we already saw little glimpses of Kaido's childhood. And it kind of seemed like discongruent with him growing up on Elbath as well. But I don't know. There does seem to be some kind of like parallels and stuff here. And Kaido's definitely got some sort of funky ancient giant DNA going on. I don't think he just looks like that. I can't even die. Oh, and here we go. Oh, shit. Oh, baby. Alright, we knew this was gonna happen. We saw this in a flashback already. But now, the full gang is here. The strongest pirate crew that ever lived. And the final reveal of Rox D. Zebek, who's gotta be Blackbeard's dad. Yeah, it just says right there, father of Blackbeard. Jesus Christ. He looks just like him. Oh, shit. Now that's a surprise. You know, right up until now, honestly, all the way up until now, even with the other flashback where Zebek clearly has just beaten the poop out of Loki, and was like, get out of here, kid. I was like, I still kind of believed in the theory that Zebek was like a buggy type. That he was the buggy of his era. And like Whitebeard was strong. Shiki was strong. You know, Big Mom and Stussy and all of them were super strong. But that Zebek himself was like a fraud and a charlatan and was just like Buggy. I don't know. I didn't really want that to be true because that's not really in Oda's style, I think, to have a character be an anticlimax like this. And you know they'd hyped up a lot of stuff with rocks, like the Battle of God Valley and stuff, where you're kind of like, okay, could a total fraud really get away with that? Is it really that it was kind of like the Whitebeard War where Buggy managed to come out looking like a hero, but it's super obvious to anybody that was actually there that he was doing jack shit. It didn't really quite add up to me, but I part of me kind of thought that they could still do that, but nah, there's no way they would make him look this badass, and that he's Blackbeard's father, and that he is this major influence on Loki. This is of course a major crossroads for Loki. Dude, look at young Whitebeard. Look at young Shiki. Look at Stussy. They're so cool. Big Mom's not in the crew yet. Big Mom's a little baby at this point. This man, whom Harold had met at the Reverie 8 years early, killed a Navy headquarters admiral and fled. Now the government has placed a heavy bounty on his head. Whoa, so this was the incident at the Reverie. I see. Is this Elbaf, land of the giants? Question 2, is Harold here? Crazy shit. One peek again, baby. Rox finally appears. He's Blackbeard's dad. And we know Blackbeard had a fucked up childhood, okay? The seed was planted long ago in a random ass SBS question where they asked to see all of the Shichibukai as kids. And most of them were doing kind of like, you know, shtick, and really kind of leaned into the personalities they would ultimately have. There was also the revelation in that one that Doflamingo used to be like impoverished because he was in like a filthy, threadbare suit and laughing. Hinted at his childhood too, so this was clearly by that point established as like canon. And Blackbeard is just sitting there crying under a crescent moon. And I was always kind of like haunted by that. And I was like, this guy eventually is going to get one hell of a tragic backstory. Not that he's going to end up being sympathetic per se, I don't think. Not that he's not going to be an enemy, but I was always like, they're gonna cook with this one. And then there's the scene in the Odin flashback where the Roger crew is squaring off against the Whitebeard crew, and Blackbeard is part of the Whitebeard crew. And at that point, he's just a kid. So probably something like when Zebek dies, he's already had this kid Blackbeard, and Whitebeard takes him along. And I guess that's probably when he got the name Blackbeard, really. It's not he's christened Blackbeard. They didn't know he'd grow a beard. So during that flashback, they're like they're battling each other in this long kind of stalemate territory grab thing where they're not really trying to kill each other because they're buds, but they're just having a rowdy good time. And there's a scene, a really kind of like, it makes you tingle. Just the depth of world building on display here, where Buggy and Shanks are talking about that kid Blackbeard. There's that kid on the other side, Blackbeard. I've never seen him sleep. That's what they say. They say that he doesn't seem to sleep at all. And it's just like, what the fuck? What's that mean? And he just looks like this kind of mopey kid. But they're like, yeah, I've never seen him sleep. It's crazy. Anyways, yeah, so this arc, it could have the origin of Blackbeard. It's gonna have the origin of the Whitebeard pirates. It could have the God Valley battle and the ending of Zebek's crew. It's all on the table. But then we also gotta cover whatever the hell happens here with Harold. Whatever happens to the relations of Elbaf and the rest of the world. What led to all those giants stabbing Harold that fateful day that we were initially flashing back to before we got into this nested flashback, and how ultimately is Loki going to be a good, valiant guy that's going to join the Straw Hats? There's a lot of ground to cover. I think this is going to be a pretty substantial flashback. But damn, man. What an entrance. What an entrance. He's still got it. 1,154 chapters in, Oda is still dropping character reveals like this that just make you go, oh, wow, he looks awesome. Can't wait to see this dude fight. Can't wait to see what his powers are. Can't wait to see Whitebeard fighting in his prime. Maybe not his prime yet, but he was pretty damn strong at this point, I'm sure. God, dude, One Piece is so good. All right. That's all I got to say. I will see you in just a few days, because this was late, and the next one hopefully is going to be on time. See you then. Goodbye. For now. Bye-bye.